As we see Bitcoin recovering, which altcoins should you be buying? Should you just pick randomly from the list? Should you follow influencer shills? Should you wait for the ones that haven't moved yet and ape into those? I'm going to share with you a few tips that will really help you when it comes to trading altcoins. So let's get started. And remember, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit subscribe and click the like button if you're enjoying the content. So we're going to go into a 1-day chart. So a daily chart, because we can fully zoom out then. You can see Bitcoin's making a good recovery. So we've broken through this trend line. But again, we don't know for 100% sure if it's going to fail from here. And if it does, obviously altcoins will take a dump too. We never know that, but there are some ways we can tell before the fact. So I'll share some of those tips in a minute. But in terms of coins, what you want to do is you want to focus on coins that are newer and that did all-time highs in this cycle. And by this cycle, I mean ideally in 2024 or 2025. So one I've discussed a lot is SUI. And this particular top was in January 2025. And you can see it's making a very strong recovery now. So my first tip is to preference the coins that did all-time highs in the last 12 to 18 months. As a reference, this is Sandbox. And Sandbox today is only up 1%, but yesterday or the day before it had a good day where it may have done 5 or 10%. So that's my second tip. Just because a coin is up 10% on the day, do not just blind ape the coin. A lot of people do that, especially when they're new to cryptocurrency, because they see it's up and they're thinking, well, okay, it might go up 10% again tomorrow or the day after. That's not good trading. Go into a chart, scroll out to a daily or weekly, and now have a look. So we can see here on the daily that it had a little bit of a rally in November, December, and then it's completely dumped and faded that rally. So not a good sign. However, zoom out. What does the actual full chart look like for Sandbox? That is the actual chart you're trading. Does that look like a bullish chart to you? Obviously not. Now, some of these, like what I call crappy coins, they're going to do a little bit. They might have a little bit of a bounce. But whilst they're doing the little bit, the stronger coins will have a much stronger bounce, obviously. With some of these altcoins still able to do close to their all-time highs. Whereas things like Sandbox, literally the chance of this going back anywhere near this area is maybe 1 in a million, maybe even less than that. So extremely unlikely. Third tip, back on a Bitcoin chart. And this relates to news. Again, this is a little bit more advanced, but once you've been trading markets, especially cryptocurrency for a while, you'll get the gist of this. News events. How it works with news events. Typically in crypto, it's usually buy the rumor, sell the news. So what do I mean by that? So he announced tariffs. Trump announced tariffs. And he announced the date and everything and then suddenly reversed. But the date was supposed to be around here when they were supposed to come into effect. That was literally the bottom and a sign for a decent bounce. Now, like I said, we don't know if this bounce is going to mean Bitcoin goes to, all-time highs again and stuff like that. We'll discuss that later in the video, how to identify that. But the way it works with crypto is if you have any bullish news, especially if the bullish news has a confirmed date. So let's say just for argument's sake, on May the 5th, some really bullish thing is about to happen. It's always something to do with Ethereum and ETFs usually, or some country buying up all the Ethereum, some rubbish like that. If there's bullish news and there's already a date, that is a top sign. And literally the top will be on that exact date. And I have so many examples of the last few years of that happening. However, on the flip side, if there's bearish news, like if as we're like trending up a little bit, there's more and more bearish news, that's a good sign. That's a good sign because we're counter trading. Most people are just watching the news, thinking it's bearish, thinking, all right, sell everything. But no, that's a good sign. It's when stuff gets too bullish, that's actually the opposite happens. Now, again, don't take my word for it. You check yourself. Go back through history. For example, when Trump came into power on exactly, I think it was January 19th, what happened to things like Solana? They completely topped and fell off. And that's my next tip. Look, you have to trade strength. And trading strength means what I said earlier in this video, Ethereum, nowhere near its all-time highs. And it faded very, very heavily from the December highs it made here around 4,000. Very heavily. I can't believe we got all the way back to 1,300. This is not a strong coin anymore. And unfortunately, it's had its day. However, Solana in comparison is a lot stronger. Now, it did move down 65%, but that's a lot lower than some of the other coins. which from the recent highs in December, some are down like 90%. Not a good sign at all. Now, I still think with Solana, this cycle's over, but that's my next tip. Think about the next cycle. Think about the next cycle. So in the next cycle, what happens? So let's go back in history a little bit and let's have a look at early 2023. So early 2023, bear market, all the stuff going on with FTX, absolute panic in crypto markets. And we had Bitcoin dumping very, very low. But what we did in January 2023 in a few altcoins, not all of them, a few of them, and the AI coins like FET, for example, is we had a very, very nice rally. And then we went sideways and down for a long time. So let me show you that on FET because it's easier to see. Really, really good rally. And some coins, the multiples were crazy in this rally, but then they died off. We could be doing something similar here. So keep an eye out for that. If we get some very strong rally in some of the altcoins, and I'll show you a few tips again a little bit later in terms of how to pick them, we could get a little bit of rally like that and then do nothing for a few months until later in the year. So be prepared for that. And if there's a period where we do nothing for a few months, you can look to trade in the opposite direction. So you can short the market or you can sit on your hands. But in the meantime, you can just take very, very cautious longs as we go up in the market. So where do you trade? One site I've been using more and more is called Axiom Pro. And they use the Hyperliquid kind of system when it comes to leverage trading. And on here, you can trade most of the altcoins and a few of the major meme coins as well. So you can take a position here on market. So you can either buy or sell here. You could do without leverage. So you could just do normal trading, so 1x, or you can go a little bit higher as well. So again, it depends on your experience. But you can go long or short the market because it's a trader's market. Definitely the last couple of years in cryptocurrency, it's been fully 100% trader's market. It's not been an investor's market. That's just the reality. So on any of these altcoins, when you're actually placing a trade, you go into a 15-minute and that's where you set up a trade. You look for dips and you can use the RSI or MACD to look for those. So any pullbacks on any of these coins, buy the pullback, set up a stop below. And that leads me on to my next tip. On all of these coins, as they're moving up, just be wary about sudden sell-offs because like I've said before, this is very closely tied to the wider stock market. It's not decoupled or anything like that. It's very closely linked to the stock market, Nasdaq, S&P. I mean, there'll be some days when crypto's up and those markets are a little bit down, but overall the trend is the same. So what you want to do here is go into an hourly, and what we're looking for on a higher time frame, now we've got a clear move up, pullback. Simple TA. Move up, pull back, and we're moving up again. And what we just want to watch out for is we don't want this to be an ABC corrective move, ABC. And with those ones, you get fib relationships. So either the A leg and the C leg is 1 to 1, 1 to 1.236. And occasionally on these very strong coins is 1 to 1.618. We don't want it to hit one of those levels and completely dump and take out this pivot here. That's definitely bearish if it starts doing that on the altcoins, and then we will re-explore the lows here. And then we'll just have to reassess and see how it goes. So here, come to trend-based fib extension, swing high, swing low to swing high, and put the level there at the bottom. You can see we're already hitting 1 to 1, so we have to be careful. So if we get a little bit of price coming back down here, not a good sign. We have to be a bit careful of that. Ideally, even if it comes down here, it should bounce and go straight back up. And also these levels, 1.236, 1618, sometimes 1382, but that's less common. Don't want price to bounce here and then sudden sell-off. Sudden sell-off. Something happens, world, whatever, doesn't matter, and then we get a sudden sell-off. Don't want to see that on these coins. So that's my next tip. Watch out for this correction on the altcoins. Next tip, look for narratives. So this is Tau, for example. I won't even talk about the low lows because nobody's randomly aping in and getting the pico bottom of any of these moves. If they're saying that, then literally they've been buying every single low all of the way down. So their average price is obviously a lot higher. So don't believe anything like that. Like nobody's got a crystal ball with this stuff. But let's say you bought in, after it bounced a little bit. So realistically, how much is it up? 60%, 70%. What I've noticed is there's a little bit of an AI narrative going at the moment because some of the ones that have bounced a little bit stronger, like FET, Tau, Render as well. So let me show you Render. Render's had kind of decent bounce as well. So off this area here, we're up about 60%. That's not bad. So keep an eye out for that. You should be, remember, it's traders market. You can get involved in the AI ones, and then later, you know, if we still get continuing uptrend, we can focus on some of the other coins after and just move. It's so easy to just sell and move on to another coin. You don't have to, like AI coins could go up for a bit and then do nothing for months. You don't have to just hold these coins. It takes a second to click sell, rotate into something else. It doesn't take long at all. And like I said earlier in the video, don't forget to zoom out. Where were the highs? As long as it was this cycle, then it's got a chance to bounce a little bit stronger. If it was previous cycle, 2021, or even some people are trading stuff that had all-time highs in 2017, you're going to struggle because those are dead coins completely. Next tip, and this is hard work, but if you're not prepared to do a little bit of work, you're going to struggle with cryptocurrency. Simple as that. Like I said, you can't just go on random shills and stuff. You have to do your own research. Go into CoinMarketCap and then list by market cap. So already that's the default. And you need to go through the list of the top, maybe 150, and start preparing lists of ones that look like they could do well. And wherever you're trading, for example, if it's Axiom, like I've linked below, or if you want to trade on Coinbase, Binance, doesn't matter, check which coins are actually available there first, so you're not wasting your time. You don't have to have millions of platforms, and you don't have to trade all the coins. If you just want to trade Binance ones, the ones that are listed on Binance, that's fine too. On TradingView, literally here, you can see I've typed in render, so RNDR, click on crypto here, and scroll down and just see which exchanges I've listed it. And you can see, you know, loads of Coinbase there. So obviously it's a Coinbase coin more than anything else. And for Tau, you see it's Binance. So Tau's not on Coinbase for, as far as I'm aware, for spot trading at the moment. Now, sometimes that situation changes, but that's what you want to do. And then develop a list, make some Apple notes or pen and paper and write down the ones that are worth trading. Then, like I said, go onto a daily chart and see the ones that were doing well this cycle. Has to be this cycle. And literally at the moment, there are no exceptions. XRP was the exception before because it did well previously, but still, it has a new all-time high in this cycle. So this is one you should concentrate on. And be careful with XRP. It could be a late mover, so it could do nothing whilst everything else is rallying. So you don't want to hold a lot of your liquidity here. You can wait for XRP to make its move. And once it does, it's pretty vertical and, you know, it only lasts a couple of weeks. It doesn't last very long at all. So again, don't need to blind buy and hold. Same scenario as the others on a lower time frame. Just make sure this doesn't turn into an ABC and dump down lower. You have to watch out for that. But even corrective moves, not XRP particularly in terms of percentage, but even corrective moves, as you've seen with some of these other coins, some of them have nearly 2x from the Pico bottom, so they can still do decent multiples. So what are other coins? Like there's loads. So one, for example, AIOZ, I think it's on Coinbase. This is one to keep. Like if you zoom out, you can see it's not done much. But if you zoom in, you'll see that again, from the lows, where were we? We were at like 17. You can see there, 17. Are we above 34? Yeah, we're at 34. So we're already 2x there. So it's moving quite well. And that's my next tip. So some of the coins, you'll find that they're lagging a little bit. Remember, not all coins. We're completely ignoring ones from past cycles because we're not wasting our time here. We need to make money. Like that's what you're here for. So one thing you can do with some of these coins is just zoom out a little bit more. What you'll see is that they'll develop this structure where they'll pull up, you get this higher low, which is great. And then you'll see price kind of going sideways at important resistance levels. So it's like a coil spring getting ready to break out. So some coins will be there in that situation. This is a bad example because Blink is, you know, likely not a good coin because it's a previous cycle coin. But again, you see here where it was sitting at breakout. And then sometimes, I mean, this wasn't particularly powerful, but you can sometimes get very powerful breakouts. So if you can spot ones on your list, so you have a list and you got 10 that, you know, tick all the boxes, but a couple of them are just sitting here going sideways at important resistance levels, and you get in this ascending triangle pattern, then you can get in early, trade the breakout, and if you want to, just sell and move on, or just hold the position because obviously you're in profit anyway, or hold what we call a moon bag. So you keep maybe 50% of your position, take 50% as profit. But profits, it's really important to take profits. Like if you've learned nothing in the last couple of years, that's one of the most important things. Whether it's meme coins, altcoins, doesn't matter. They're all the same thing now anyway. I did another video, so make sure you subscribe. There's literally about 4 or 5 meme coins that look really, really good. Rest, millions and millions of coins look like complete garbage. those 4 or 5 older coins actually looking quite good in terms of chart setup. Here's a good one for what I was just describing here. By the way, this is Casper. Look at this. So you had, what, a week more where it was just going sideways. You see that? Doing nothing, but sitting at a very important level. So any level where you've seen a lot of price action before, that tends to be a little box resistance. So anytime here you could bought, just wait. And then when it does its breakout, it's pretty violent. So 7 to what, 10? What is that? Like, so, you know, 30-40% moves here. So it's not bad at all. And they're quick too. So literally in a couple of days, you can get that breakout. So that's what you want to look for. And my next tip is, look, with all of this, with altcoins, you know, when it comes to trading, you'll have some sort of edge. You just use your edge. Mine particularly is looking at chart setups and stuff. So I focus on charts, and I think it's the most objective and one of the best ways and one of the best things to learn. So if you want to learn more, obviously watch some of my videos, watch other people's videos and stuff. But if your edge is trading news, like on meme coins, and you know, somebody making a tweet or a post, and you can get in very, very quickly and get out quickly as well, do that. Do whatever your edge is. And if really you don't have any time, you're really struggling, and you need to just buy a few coins and hold, see what people are shilling, make a list, have a look at the charts, and if it makes sense, buy, but just add some stop losses. So for example, on Axiom or Mexi or wherever you want to, you can add orders there that automatically sell if price drops below an important inflection point. And you could just leave it then if you wanted to do it that way. But again, I would highly advise, if you get any decent profits, like if you're up 50% or something on an altcoin, definitely should consider taking some profits. You will regret it later. And consider the, you know, what we call the macro environment. So if you go back to Bitcoin, you know, crypto doesn't trade in a vacuum. So look back at history. And there's a couple of things that could be happening here. One, it could just be a little corrective rally and we just completely dump. You know, so there's always that. So we keep an eye out for that. The other is this December 18 to June 19. I think that may have been around the time of Trump's first stint actually as president. So, you know, maybe something similar. It might be getting a little bit of a nice rally, and then we could be in for like months of sideways and dumping, maybe 6 months, 8 months. So be prepared for that. And good way is just to, you know, enjoy the rally next 2-3 weeks, take your profits, and just stay sidelined or look for shorts and stuff. It could be that going on right now, but that's me looking at the macro picture, looking at history, looking at what we've seen before in this market, because this was the beginning. So this was the beginning. So this is, you know, peak kind of bear market here. And this was the beginning of the next run. But technically all of this you could describe as bear. So we could still be in bear, quote unquote, for another 12 months. But this was a move up and this was a higher low. So we were moving off the lows. So some of the strong coins, the lowest levels that we're seeing may be around now actually, rather than in a few months time where we'll get these higher lows. That's it for this one. Thanks for listening.